So this is a video to show you how to do some tabletop bowing. So I have set up my violin on, this is a piano stool with a book underneath the scroll. So what I'm trying to aim to do is get my strings parallel to the ceiling. So when we don't have anything underneath, the natural tendency of the violin will for these strings to be angled backwards. Now when we're playing, what the position that we hold the violin is to aim to have these strings parallel to the ceiling so that they act like a shelf for the bow to just glide on. If we don't have this parallel to the ceiling, if I move this way against the wall that you should be able to see, if we drop the scroll like this, then the bow has to work really hard to stay on the strings, and that tension can come through in the sound. And similarly if we hold it too high. So when we're doing all of the violin holding, we're aiming to get this sort of level position of the strings so that the bow works as naturally as possible. Now, what this demonstration does and shows the children is that how the violin works brilliantly by itself, and a lot of the things we have to do is just experiment with what works and what doesn't, and potentially why, but also how to just let the violin do its own thing. The less we do, the more it sings. It's quite good at sorting itself out if we can only just get out the way. So that's what this experiment is all about. So set up your violin so that the scroll is slightly raised and the strings are parallel with the ceiling. I would suggest you do this lower down, either on a big table or near the floor, not quite so precarious as I've got here. Right, bow. So we get the bow out of the case. You might have a twisty thing or you might have some Velcro. If you've got a twisty thing, make sure it's exactly sort of horizontal before you take it out. If there's Velcro, make sure the Velcro comes away from the horsehair. Housekeeping, please don't touch the horsehair with your fingers because fingers are sticky, even if we think we've just washed them, and that oil makes the bow really shiny and then it doesn't work properly. So you have the nut of the bow, and this actually moves up and down. So we have a screw here, which you can see. And if I screw this all the way out, then this actually comes out. And so that screw makes this bit move further forwards and backwards, which loosens and tightens the horsehair. So this is probably as loose as you'd want to go with the horsehair. Okay, when we put it into its case, this is how loose we would want it to be. Okay, but when we try and play with the horsehair this loose, we get a sort of raspy sound because we've got the stick going onto the strings. So we need to tighten. Now if you look at the end of the screw, you're going clockwise, and then we aim to get it so it's about a centimetre, about the sort of width of a little finger in the middle of the bow. We want this bit of the bow to be slightly curved this way. If it's too tight, it goes that way, and that puts a lot of strain on the stick. It also stretches the horsehair. So the most common thing is that children tend to over tighten their bows. So if we can get into a really good habit of smiley bows, tiny pinky space in the middle but without touching the horsehair, and we only touch the hair on the bow on the stick. Right. So then we need to find the balance point. Now there's a really cool way of doing this by balancing the bow on one end of the finger and the other end of the finger, sliding both fingers in, and when they meet in the middle, you get the balance point where it balances like a seesaw. Here we go, and that is my balance point. And that's where the bow feels lightest because it's balanced. Notice it's not halfway down the stick because of this end. Okay. Another way is just using your fingers and sort of trial and error until you can get it to float really gently. Here we go. So then what we do is we put the bow onto the string, probably the A or the D string, the middle two strings, at the balance point, and just silently rock it backwards and forwards and enjoy the feeling of the weight of the bow being in the string. And the violin is supporting the weight of the bow, and we're very lightly just wiggling it, but we're not actually holding the bow at all. That feeling of weight in the strings, again, so important. Now, do you see I've lined up my bow at the moment at the top of these F holes? Okay, we can go to the deep end near the bridge, and we can go to the shallow end over the fingerboard, or we can go to the top of the F holes, which I call like the middle end, the middle lane. So deep end, shallow end, middle end, okay? Now we're going to experiment with loads of different things when we're doing this bit. So we then take our hands off the balance point and probably use your right hand, but just finger and thumb very gently touch the end. We're not trying to get a proper bow hold yet. We're just literally just supporting the bow. Then we're going to pull the bow on the middle of the strings. At that medium speed in the middle lane. Now what you'll notice, if I stay at the same speed and in the middle lane, as I get towards the heavier part of the bow, we get that crunching sound. Now children tend to experience that when they're playing and then not like the sound and so avoid that bit of the bow. But we can do a bit of problem solving. So let's go away and then keep the same speed and slightly move to the deep end. And you'll hear the tone getting rich and it doesn't break in the same way because the string's a bit stronger there. So the weight of the bow, that's it. And then as we come to the tip, we can see if we can float over the fingerboard. Let's see what happens here. Now let's keep the same speed, go over. Oh, it's starting to crack much sooner when I'm over the fingerboard. Again, you might recognise this as a beginner violin sound. Lovely. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. I want you to experiment with how to make these sounds, because if you know how to make these sounds, you know how not to make these sounds. So too much weight over the fingerboard wasn't working. Let's see if we can go faster, see what happens. Oh, that seemed to work. So a faster bow over the fingerboard, I don't get that crunchy sound. If I slow it right down over the fingerboard, ooh, that doesn't seem to work. Yeah, that's what happens if I go right to the heel. Right, we get that. Let's go to the middle again and go fast at the middle. And let's go slow right over the deep end. Oh, but it actually gets quite nice quite early on. You can get really good alien sounds right on the bridge. Okay, so the idea of doing this is not to sort of just stick to the safe middle lane, middle speed. They'll probably get quite a nice sound quite quickly, and that's great. And you can encourage that, middle lane, middle speed, that's how you get a nice singing stroke, okay? But we can experiment with going really slow over the fingerboard, really slow over the bridge, really fast over the fingerboard, shallow lane, really fast over the deep end, fast and slow in the middle. Just see what happens. So change where you put the bow, change the speed, and just be curious about the sounds that you're getting. Because if they can experiment like that without having to worry about holding it and holding the bow and all of that and keeping this loose, they'll understand that the bow and the violin have a very special relationship with each other that really doesn't need us to do that much. And then we become part of that team, not we're in control of the bow and the violin at all times. We're actually sort of part of the team of the violin, the bow, the person, and we all need to work in balance with each other and do a sort of creative experimenting. Right, so have fun, make loads of alien noises and cracking noises and all sorts, but do aim to get that lovely sound as well. And remember, you can put the backing track on for the Palladio that I played you, just so that you don't get lots of D's and A's for 10 minutes of your practice. All right, have fun.